you feeling stuck, lost, tired, or uninspired? We've all been there, including myself. I'm Coach Des, mindset motivator and lifestyle entrepreneur. I'm here to tell you that the best, unapologetic, and limitless version of yourself is yet to come. The Born Unbreakable podcast is here to inspire just that. With motivating guests from all different walks of life and around the world, their stories will empower you to unlock abundance and your unbreakable spirit. Do you need accountability? Reach out to me for a free consultation of how I can support you in reaching your maximum potential. This episode is brought to you by Korma Date Coffee, the healthy alternative to coffee. This delicious date coffee has the health benefits of giving you natural energy, antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, and fiber. Best of all, Korma is caffeine-free, no jitters, no anxiety, and no afternoon crash. Go to kormacafe.com, that's KORMACAFE.com, and enter discount code BORNUNBREAKABLE at checkout to get 10% off your order. Welcome to another episode of the Born Unbreakable podcast. We're here in 2022. January, new beginnings. It's so exciting. And I couldn't be more excited about my guest, Kimberly Smith. She is a resilience and life transition coach who works with women and entrepreneurs and moms on building confidence, resiliency, and strength and clarity as they move to live their best lives. She is the founder of Encompass Coaching. So we're going to talk about so much today, including things like mindset, and what does it take for busy people to sustain a mindset that allows them to thrive, especially as we get a lot of pressure in the beginning of a year, thinking about our goals, thinking about what we need to accomplish, and the fact that most people wear multiple hats. They're a parent, they could be a partner, they are a colleague, they are a friend. And so overwhelm can be a big part of what people experience quickly as they're moving into things like goals and things like that. So Kimberly, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be with me.
Of course, it's my pleasure. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm thrilled to be able to dig into content like mindset. But, before we go there, I'd love to learn a little bit about your story. So your background and then how you arrived into this incredible transformational space to coach people.
Yeah, sure. Well, my story, Des, is not unique, really. I grew up kind of checking the boxes of adulthood and what I thought would really bring me to success and happiness and contentment and fulfillment. And so, got my education, got married, bought a house, became a mother, had a great career. Literally perfect on paper life. And I found myself after becoming a mother dealing with a lot of overwhelm, a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, and feeling like I was in over my head for sure. And because, I got married, probably on the younger side. I was 26 when I got married. And by the time I was 30, I was a mom. I owned multiple properties, was working for a very high-end luxury property in Florida as a recruiting manager. So had a very fast-paced life. And while it was a great life, something was missing. There was definitely a lot missing, actually. And my health started suffering. Like I said, I started having anxiety attacks, panic attacks, which, I'll be honest, I've always maybe been a little bit of an anxious soul looking back now. But this was out of the ordinary for sure. It raised a red flag. I went to my doctor. He asked me if I was under any stress, and I was like, absolutely. I'm a new mom. I live in a new state. I have all this stuff going on. My husband has a really serious career, and I was kind of a single mom from day one, really, when I was a mom. His job didn't allow him to disconnect. of course, then I was kind of managing everything. There was just a lot of balls in the air all at once. And, we tried to make some changes with our lifestyle. We ended up moving back to Houston, Texas to be closer to family. That was another thing. We had no support network.
Mm-hmm.
I had no support network, little time to make real friendships other than the ones that I had at my job. And I was lonely. There was a big piece of my life was just there was something missing, like I said. So we came back to Houston, tried to put the pieces back together. And, things got worse before they got better. I'll say that. It was definitely messy. And, I had to get creative. I had gone on medication for a period of time to help cope with the anxiety. And while I think modern medicine is wonderful and absolutely has a place in mental health, it wasn't something that I wanted to personally use as a solution long term. And my life kept getting more stressful. The medicine wasn't working as well. I was kind of up against this wall, like, what do I do? And that's when I really had to look inside myself and get creative in terms of what other resources I had and could deploy and what I could do differently to manage the stress that was in my life, to manage my mindset so that I could feel happier, so that I could be more productive, so that I could feel more aligned and just true to myself every single day. And my career was in recruiting and staffing. I spent 10 years helping people in various industries move from one opportunity to the next, which is amazing. And kind of as my life was shifting personally, my life was also shifting professionally. I had worked for this amazing place in Florida, and then coming back to Houston, nobody could really hold a candle to them, basically. And it was challenging to find a place that I felt I fit in, I could have longevity, and I was laid off a couple times. So I was very frustrated by life in general. I was kind of angry at things for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then amongst my personal shifts, I took some time off. I took a hiatus to really think about what I wanted, what I needed on both sides of the fence, personally and professionally, because they overlap. We carry our personal lives into our work. We carry our work into our personal lives sometimes. And people kept coming to me, asking me to help them with their resumes, to help prepare them for an interview, to give them guidance on a job search. And I thought, hey, I could turn my skills into a business here, right? So that's just what I did. I started a business randomly amongst the other chaos that my life was still going through. And it was on the foundation of career coaching. And not long before that, I actually heard about life coaching. And it was actually on a podcast that I heard about life coaching. And I'd already thought about going and getting my certification. So after I got my certification, things just really came together organically.
Mm-hmm.
And here I am.
There was clarity in the chaos,
For sure.
right? And
Yes,
I love hearing your story because I feel like we can all relate to this challenging dynamic that we face in life where things look really good on paper. We are doing the things that you do to achieve and to have others go, yes, you are doing it. But when the alignment on the inside isn't there, there is still this search for feeling the true sense of wholeness and the true sense of purpose. And you were able to, have that light bulb moment of I can take this need that people have and actually turn it into something that I can make a business out of and thrive in a space where I can bring it all together. It's amazing.
It was scary. I never thought that amongst all of that I would decide to start a business. And I got to say, it was refreshing. it was refreshing because there was nobody judging me. There was nobody, it was really just me experimenting. I saw it as this experiment of, okay, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And I kept an open mind. Of course, I took some contract positions here and there as my business was growing to, sustain my income. And I think we pick up something new wherever we go. And it was definitely a critical time though, because prior to that, I think I had been very much defined by my career and who I was as this working professional.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I had this detachment.
Yeah.
I think we're all kind of taught to find a job and be there as long as we can and be loyal and have that tenure with the company, and we'll be rewarded for that. And while that was something I valued for a really long time, I didn't necessarily see the same loyalty from the organizations that I worked for. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't see, with the exception of the one, entity in Florida, it pretty much seemed like there was this, revolving door of people who came in and then left, and the employers didn't really have a vested interest in the growth of their people. And that's something that I still see. I think since the pandemic, people have been had a lot less patience for it, which is great.
Right.
They've decided there's definitely a strong movement happening now of people saying that, this way of life isn't working for them. They need more flexibility. They need more from their employers. And employers, I think, are hearing that conversation. And you see
Yeah.
more of them making really valiant efforts to improve their culture and, support their team members in creative ways, which I think is excellent. But yeah, it was just a really nice time to experiment and get creative again and let those creative juices start flowing, which I think they had really been stifled by corporate America and
Mm-hmm.
my place there. As much as I tried to be authentic, there's definitely limits to what I think most people feel they can show in their day-to-day job. They don't feel like they can be them true selves. They don't feel like they can speak up when on some of these hard topics that come to the table. They don't feel like they can disagree with people amongst us in that meeting setting. It can be challenging. There's definitely a lot of challenges.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I couldn't agree with that more. And I think that to your point about, the time that we're in and this pandemic, despite the obvious, which is the challenges that this kind of thing brings to society, to our culture, to the world, is I do think it has forced us to push the envelope when it comes to our needs as human beings, which is the desire for flexibility, the ability to have a little bit more latitude in achieving goals, for your personal life and your professional life, which I think have been merged together more than ever. Because for a lot of people, that's meant working from home, and therefore you cannot separate things in the same way as you might have been able to do when you were driving to a physical space other than your home, so you can have that distinction between I am here, I am working, and then later I will go home. So many people have had to determine, okay, I'm working on this hour, attending to, my kids on this hour, going back to work on this hour. I mean, it's a lot more fluid, it's a lot more dynamic, and I do think that it's more beneficial than not, because it has helped us to realize that we can evolve, we can have resiliency and doing things different, and creativity and having ingenuity when limits are placed on us, like a pandemic.
Yes, absolutely. I think, yeah, all of that. I mean, what has come out of this is a new way of life. And it's scary. I think a lot of people, including myself, were resistant to it for the beginning stages. And there was a lot of, we're relying on Zoom, we can't meet up in person. Like you said, the boundaries between work and home are very much blurred. And now we have to be more diligent in setting those boundaries and creating a aligned yet flexible structure for us to operate within, where we can still be productive and, meet the needs of our families, and then also meet the needs of, doing meaningful work in the world, and, obviously supporting our fellow team members and colleagues if we're working in, for an organization or a formal employer. Or just, helping your own business grow if you're an entrepreneur. I mean, I have learned a lot, absolutely, throughout the pandemic. And innovation is key. Is, what we have today or this week or this month or whatever, right? It might be sustainable now, but there may come a point in time where we outgrow that and things start to get uncomfortable and we start to get frustrated. And I'll tell you, frustration is transformative in itself, right? You get frustrated enough, you're gonna be, okay, I got to change, or something has to change.
Yeah.
Something has to give, or something's going to break in those scenarios.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely
I
all
always
about
say,
innovation.
yeah, it's like it's either discomfort and pain or opportunity that pushes you into a new direction of change. So it brings me to a question that I want to ask you, which is, I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, it's the beginning of the year. So it is a natural place where we may be ambitious in terms of saying, okay, the past is the past. Last year is what it was, and now it's time for me to look ahead and look at, what do I want to accomplish? How do I want to do that? But in that same vein, there is the possibility of overwhelm and trying the best that we can to prevent burnout. So by the time it's March, we're not so, entrenched in too many things that now we've set ourselves backwards, instead of having this nice pace of, productivity yet balance. So I imagine that people are coming to you trying to work through those kinds of things like overwhelm and burnout. What are some of the things that you help folks with as they are trying to attack those kinds of challenges in this crazy world we live in?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, Coach Des, things really boil down to 3 items when it comes to working with my clients. Typically, mindset, energy, and daily strategy. Your mindset and your energy impact your daily strategy and I call them success strategies, right? That need to be sustainable and supportive for you to feel good every day, right? And those also impact your energy and your mindset. So they work on top of each other. And, you think about it, we're not taught how to manage our mind. We're not taught how to manage our mindset as when we're young, or even in college, even when things start to get more complicated or we move into adulthood in any way, shape, or form. There's no resources built into any curriculum that I've ever gone through about how to manage your mindset and stress and anxiety, or how detrimental it is to our health. And it absolutely is. And then connected to that, of course, is our energy, right? We don't have endless energy. We have capacity. We have a certain amount of mental, physical, emotional energy every single day. And we have to be very mindful and intentional about how we allocate that and where we allocate that to. So on the topic of overwhelm, especially as we're moving into this new year, I hear it a lot that the goal setting process just is too overwhelming. They don't want to do it, and to that, number one, I think that a lot of people have pandemic fatigue going on right now. And, and while I absolutely I have a ton of for that, because there have been a lot of moving parts. There are still a lot of moving parts. We also need to disengage from some of that, right? We really need to have a firm boundary between this pandemic and the fear that it produces, and also our own life. We need to have some strong borders for self-preservation.
Yeah.
It's been 2 years almost. I don't want to give any more of my time away to the pandemic. It's there. We're in it. We're living through it. We're figuring it out together. And this very well may be part of our life. If it's not this, it's going to be something else, right? We look back over the years, there's been lots of health scares internationally, right? From SARS to Zika to you name it. There's always been something, and we've always figured it out.
Yeah.
So let that be a comforting thought, right? And also that, to me, it's not an excuse to not set goals or not want more for yourself. It's even more of a reason to want to have something else that's positive to focus on and to put your energy towards, which can only give you more energy, right? When we put energy into the things that we love or the things that make us feel good, we actually get more energy back. When we put them into things that don't feel good, we feel drained. We feel burned out. We feel exhausted.
And it is. And I think that negative energy is, or negative things are depleting. So to your point about, that, it's that whole concept of your thoughts become your feelings, and your feelings become your action, and then that is your existence. And so I know personally, I've made a commitment to, a while ago, related to your point about mindset, that I wouldn't sit and watch the news for hours and hours. I know it's there. I know information is important for us to acquire, but I choose to get information in ways that are more succinct, and I'm limiting the amount of time on something that is going to be energy depleting, not energy fueling, But that's challenging, because you have to be, to me, I think you have to be intentional about that, because it's ever present where you go. And now it's not only is it, okay, well, I could turn the TV off. Let's say your social media, even if you're people like us who use it for business, it's there too. So you can't escape these things, but I think you can manage these things.
Oh, absolutely. And I think when it comes to information, especially around the pandemic, I think we all can agree that nothing is concrete these days. It's always changing. So what you hear or see today may be completely irrelevant and gone tomorrow. And so why would I want to give my energy away to that? Why would I want to give my power away? Why would I want to give my brain capacity away to that? I have things right here in front of me, and so does everybody else, that they need, that are much better served by your energy. Right? That need your energy. So yeah, I mean, at the precipice of this new year, I always get excited about the new year. I love setting goals. That wasn't always the case.
It's a little scary.
It can be, right? And I think that people fall into a couple buckets. I know a lot of people are overwhelmed because, number one, they have so much to do. They feel like they want to do so much. So sometimes our good ambitions can weigh heavily on us. And we can feel like, gosh, how do I organize this? Where do I start? How am I going to get it all done? To that, I say, number one, setting goals is not about getting it all done. Setting goals is about personal growth, no matter how small or how big. And it's also about staying connected to who you are. It's about living a life awake, consciously, intentionally.
That is awesome. I think that's just such an important point because there's a difference between awake and autopilot. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Autopilot is so easy because you do things almost without thinking. It's like, well, I've always done things this
Yeah.
way. This is just what you do. It might not be aligned with what you
Mhm.
feel, but it's comfortable because it's just what you know. And I think your point about personal growth is so critical. And goal setting is just that. It's the process that enables us to grow. So, going back to what I think is such a foundational element of what you said, because you said mindset, energy, and daily strategy. What are some of the things that you do to get to mindset with your clients so that it is something consistent that they can manage to be able to get their goals accomplished and their dreams achieved?
Mhm. Sure. Well, mindset is a way of life, right? And I think people know whether or not they have a more optimistic outlook or whether they find it really hard to see the positive in situations. And
Mm,
these days, it can be really hard to see the positive in situations. There's a lot of disappointments that come our way through life, through this pandemic experience, through it all, right? And I work specifically with my clients to really start understanding and identifying the thoughts that are going through their head and when they're going through their head. The coaching process is all about forward motion, right? We're not so much focused on the past, we're focused on the present and the future and taking you from where you are to where you want to be.
mhm.
And within that, right, of course, we're maybe setting goals, we're talking about desires, what people want for themselves. And through a lot of that, there are limiting beliefs that arise about what we believe is possible for us. And if we want to change our lives, if we want something different, then we have to start doing things differently, right? And that includes thinking about ourselves differently, thinking about what's possible differently, thinking about the world differently. And it doesn't always come easy, but we identify those limiting beliefs. There's a process for really asking ourselves, like, is that ultimately true? Like, that's one of the questions I always ask myself. Is that ultimately true? And
Mhm.
Coach Des, the answer is always no. It's not ultimately true. Those limiting beliefs are always, always lies.
Oh, why are there
Always.
so many lies in our head? Try to think about that. This is ridiculous. This is not true, but you're battling that regularly.
It is, and it's not that, you know, a lot of limiting beliefs come from our upbringing, our experiences, the people that we observed, right? They say that a lot of your mindset and cognitive ability is formed by age 7, actually, right? The influences that you've had up until that point, what you've been exposed to, and then also it's our nervous system. We live in such a stressful world where we are more overstimulated than we've ever been before. And our nervous system is interpreting these external stressors as life threatening danger.
Mhm.
So we have to, when really it's not, right? So we've got this alarmed nervous system because we have a big presentation at work, because we've got to order, pants for our kids' soccer game or like whatever. I mean, big soccer players don't even wear pants, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's these thoughts going through our brain. Like we're sitting up at night trying to sleep and we've, trying to think about all the things that we need to do tomorrow. We're so caught up in the future or the past that we're actually not in the present. We're still attaching ourselves to the stress and the anxiety and the sometimes trauma that we've experienced in the past, or that based on the past we're anticipating is going to come to us in the future. So having this chronically alarmed, all the time, consistently alarmed nervous system, we're utilizing our resources in our body to like go and send energy to all the other places, and it's actually taking energy away from our brain. We don't think as clearly, we don't make good decisions, we can't regulate our emotions. We've got physical responses even, right? Our heartbeats, our palms are sweaty. We are not operating optimally because we are so stressed.
Ugh. Yeah.
So if we can get rid of the stress or manage the stress, then we can actually think clearly and manage the thoughts that we're thinking.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the things you've talked about with your clients about how to stay present? Because you're right. It's very easy to get caught up in the past and the future. How do we stay in the now?
Yeah, I mean, it is mental. It is realizing, and it's interesting. I have a daughter who's 7.5, and she asked me a couple times, do you hear a voice in your head? Talking about her intuition and that voice of, it's really, I've heard it called the seat of self. There's a book called The Untethered Soul, which it's very popular. And the author talks about the seat of self. And when I think about that description, I think about almost being inside like this little robot, right? Where you've got all the joysticks and the buttons and like you're driving, right? And we are responsible for that voice, for what that voice says, for what that voice is actually thinking. Right? So practicing presence is just that. It's practice, right? It's really being able to think intentionally about what you're doing and why you're doing it. And if most of what we're doing is for something in the past or for something in the future, I mean, of course, we have to take action now for some things that need to be done in the future, right? I know that myself and some of my clients struggle with which actions to take and when, right? So prioritization, time management, those are big parts of staying present. A lot of people think they're great at time management, but they're not. Maybe they have a planner or a system, so to speak, but they're not using it. They're not using it consistently, or they're not being intentional about their time and the like when they need to cut certain things off and move on to the next task. So, I mean, staying present is definitely a combination of mindset, of energy, of time management, boundaries, and knowing who you are, right?
Yeah.
And really what you want and why.
Oh, that's so true. I think having that centeredness around your why, why brings you back, to the present moment. I know lately for me, it's been breathing, like just stopping to even breathe for a minute. And because I start looking at all these lists for the different businesses and things that I do, and all of a sudden I'm like, okay, wow, what next? I've got 15 things to choose from. I feel like I know what A versus B versus C is. But before I can go to strategy, it's like, let me just breathe. I breathe so I
Stillness.
can clear my mind and just be able to, be practical about this. And because a lot of it is emotional control. I think in a heightened state of emotion, it's difficult to make decisions clearly because you're frustrated, or it's not a good space for clarity. So
your energy is taken away from your brain for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that stillness, meditation, what that can teach us is to be in our bodies, right? To really be in tune to how we're feeling. And that's absolutely part of the practice of presence, is being able to be in touch with ourselves and know how we're feeling in any given moment. And most of the time, people are just moving so quickly, trying to keep up and do all the things that they're actually missing, that they're disconnected from themselves and they're focused on the external, when really the internal has a lot of those answers for you, right? Like you mentioned, it gives you clarity to kind of pause and breathe. Gosh, yeah, to breathe. And I mean, I do a lot of yoga. That's what they teach you, is stay connected to your breath, connected to you, right? Like how amazing your body is with, it has this natural intelligence built into it. How profound, right? I mean, and if you can tap into that and feel that, then what I call, inspired action, or I've heard called inspired action, will come to you. Those next right moves will come to you if you just take time to be with yourself and be present.
Yeah. That intuition, like your
Yeah.
7-year-old daughter had. And it's amazing because sometimes I think we learn from young people so much because I think they're a great example of more presence, probably because there's less directions for them to go. Their past is only this big, and they don't have the forethought to know the types of plans that they need to be making for their future. So it's just naturally a little bit easier. But seeing the simplicity of the kinds of questions that they ask, is that natural curiosity can kind of keep us in a state of, when we're curious and we ask the right questions, now we're focused on what is at hand versus, everything in front of us and everything behind us. But I do, want to ask you about an exciting program that you have, which I know you've done twice before. And coming up in February, you have this 90-day transformational program. So could you talk about that a little bit more?
Absolutely. I am so excited. It's the Empowered Resilient Woman program, which is a 90-day transformational group coaching experience. And this program is really about doing things differently, doing life differently. It's for women who are really ready to stop stressing, focus, to carve an easier path to success, to embrace their unique evolution as a woman, right? We're not taught how to evolve as people. We're taught how to be like everybody else and to stay the same and to get to a certain point and just let that be enough. This program is so dynamic. It's going to be it's 3 months long. Like I said, we're going to have group coaching. There's also some guest coaches from all over the world, from the UK, from Sydney, Australia, who are going to be popping in to add a lot of great content and material. And the main focus is really all around managing our mindset, our energy, and our daily strategy, really getting you to a point where you can have a purpose-driven plan and go for it with whatever it might be. And not just that, it's really knowing the tools and the resources for you to be able to come back to whenever you hit a snag or a bump in the road, right? The women who go through this program, they really do experience these magical life-changing shifts, right? With less stress and more ease. They conquer self-doubt. They have more self-confidence. They end up making bigger moves in their career, starting businesses. They have better relationships. They meet their dream partner, like all of these amazing things end up coming out because they finally get to know who they are on the inside, maybe for the first time ever.
Oh my gosh. I mean,
Yeah. So
that's gotta be one of the greatest gifts and moments of gratification for you to have seen that happen in the previous work that you did in 2021. because there's times where I often wonder when I know and I meet and encounter, being a coach like you, people who are maybe not quite ready yet. Because I think when you're ready, you're ready. That's the other thing about this. Like doing a program
Yes.
like this or another one it is about a personal choice that you are making, that you are investing. It's not someone telling you. It's not, you have to be fully invested in it for you to get the most out of it. But when I see, people who are on the fence of like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. I have, other things that I need to focus on. But it's amazing what I see when people actually prioritize themselves. And I think
Yeah.
this is
And
that's what this is about, right?
yes, prioritizing yourself. And same to you, to echo what you said about there being this hesitation, right, to invest in ourselves in these new ways. And that is the reality, that if we want something different, we have to do something different. And maybe we're not used to making these investments in ourselves. But our education doesn't stop at that higher education, college degree, or wherever we land, right? um, I love all the certifications and courses and things that are at our fingertips these days. And I think sometimes we overcomplicate it too. We think in our head, oh, I don't know if I have the time for that, or I don't, or I don't know how I'm going to make that work with our schedule. Dive in, make it work, right? Like commit to it first, and then, build the, move around the pieces around this new commitment. It's 90 days, it's temporary. This program particularly is wonderful because there is a self-guided portion. The trainings are video trainings that they receive. There's obviously they get a digital workbook and they do the reflections on their own time. And then we have these, amazing group coaching calls and this container of sisterhood that really is so supportive and authentic. And it's also energetic, right? Like you fuel off of other people's energy. And that also just shifts things for you in the daily, right? Just making this one small commitment to yourself. And if people can't make the group calls, they're all recorded. They're all delivered right to their inbox. So they can rewatch them, they can download them, they can keep them forever. So it's not just a one-time investment and then, wham, bam, it's over. You have this content forever.
And you have a
it
community.
forever. And you have a community, right? Like I have met some of the most fabulous people through courses that I have taken with other coaches. And they inspire me in a new way. So I encourage people to take a chance on themselves to make this investment. I would love, I'm sure I'll have a couple spots left by the time this airs. So don't be shy, reach out, let's have a chat. And yeah, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by the outcome. I had I've had lots of incredible clients and testimonials, which are on my website. Most recently, an individual said, Kimberly, you helped me accomplish something in a matter of months that could have taken me years. And that's it. I say this all the time in my social media content and everything. I'm like, take the easier path.
Yeah.
Take the path of least resistance. Make it easy. Make it fun. You can't mess it up.
Right.
The only way that it's going to feel hard and frustrating is when you resist the resources that are around you, which are plentiful.
And when you invest now, it pays dividends later,
Absolutely. Hands down.
That's the key. So, normally I ask this question, towards the end of our time, but it's perfect time to ask now since you mentioned, the possibility of there still being spots. How do people sign up, register, find out more about the program to see if it's something that is a good fit?
Yeah, sure. Definitely. You can head over to my website, which is encompasscoachingservices.com. And I'm on Instagram, Kimberly.Brooke, BROOKE.Smith. always, feel free to DM me, right? I mean, like, start a conversation. Don't be shy. On my Instagram, there is a link in my bio, which brings you to my website and all of the quick links for what's happening and what's going on and what's new and what programs are still available. So yeah, those are probably the two best places.
Oh, that's awesome. Makes it easy. Your website or
Yeah,
Instagram, be able to find out more information, and information that can transform your life and actually accelerate the plan,
for sure.
It's like a jump start, you know, to be able to have that intentional focus so you can get even more and farther than doing it alone. And plus, it's not as fun doing things alone.
Well, right. You don't have to do it alone. That's also something we've pre-programmed, that we have to figure things out all by ourselves, or that we have to do it on our own to like really feel good about it. No, it's so much more fun when you've got people around you. And yeah, I mean, that's another thing in the program. They get me on Voxer one-on-one. So you've got basically coaching in your back pocket for whenever you need it. You don't have to figure it out by yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And there is, I'm in a mastermind and we meet every week. And the leader of our group, April Garcia, hello, April. She's always saying the power of us drafting off of each other's success and the stories.
Yes.
And a lot of times it is when we're like feeling depleted, where somebody in the group can feel like, oh, I don't know about showing up to today's call because I don't feel that I have as much to bring in terms of my wins, in terms of my progress with my goals, in terms of the energy to uplift people. But then you find that by showing up, because you're in that state, it's other people's energy that'll bring you back to life of like, oh, okay, I'm glad. It's not always about, it's your contribution, but it's also the learning that you get from other people that help you to have light bulb moments, of, okay, that's super helpful. And so I love that reciprocity in a group of the give and take, because it's you giving as much as it is you receiving. And I think that's just such a beautiful thing to be able to do in community.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, sometimes it's that one small action of showing up for ourselves when we don't feel like it, that can send things going in a completely new direction and change everything for the better.
Well, I want to ask you some questions that will help people get to know you a little bit better. And in the spirit of us still being in January, because pretty soon I'm going to not have to ask this question because we'll be, down the road a little bit further. But I would love to know, what is your word of intention for the year? If you had to choose a word for 2022, what would it be? Or what is it?
So I did choose it. And so last year's word was expansion. This year is magnetic.
Yeah. That is such a great word. Like,
yes. Magnetic. What I want is a match for me, and what I desire is a match for me magnetically,
That is awesome. Oh my gosh, I love that word so much. Yeah, mine last year was magic.
Ooh, I
just
like
wanted
that.
magic in the different things that I did. And this year it's momentum.
Love it.
And I do think that we have these profound moments where the word comes to us. It almost sort of chooses us in this kind of universal way.
For sure. That's how mine came to me. It was me kind of thinking about it because I had posted something on Instagram asking people if they were setting a word of intention. And then people were saying, well, what's your word? And I thought, God, I haven't even thought about that.
Yeah. I guess I should do that as well.
I guess I should actually do that too. So yeah, and it did. It kind of in a blink of an eye kind of came. So yeah, you don't need to stress out about finding a word. Let it be easy. Let it find you. Let that inspiration just, bubble up when it does, and go with it.
Yeah, I could not agree more about that. Okay. what is something on your bucket list?
Something on my bucket list is to go skydiving. And then also I love to travel, haven't been doing as much, of course, over these last couple of years, but I have friends in Turkey and Morocco, and so that's on my bucket list and definitely something that I hope to accomplish in 2022.
Whoa, that would be really cool. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Travel. I feel like we all have a dream board that includes that. Partially
Yes.
because of the limitations that we feel have been placed on us related to this. So it makes it even more aspirational. But I think you learn so much in the
Yeah,
experience of traveling.
it's just inspiring. I love, and that's a great way to be present too. I think I'm always extra present when I'm traveling because things are new, because I'm not thinking about home or laundry or like all the
Ugh,
mundane things that we have to do. I know that's my nemesis. If that's a question, it's folding laundry. I hate it.
why though? It's just one day we'll have some, robot that does that or something.
For
Um,
sure.
but you're right. I think the spirit of when you're in, learning mode, you're present because you don't want to miss a beat. You don't want to miss this cultural experience, to be able to take it all in because you're distracted with, okay, what's going on back home and all this kind of stuff. So that's so exciting.
Right.
Okay, so you had talked about working through with clients self-limiting beliefs. What is a self-limiting belief that you have had to overcome?
Hmm. A self-limiting belief. So when I first started my business and as I grow it is like owning a six-figure business, right? And building a six-figure business or beyond, right?
Mhm.
Um, Money is an interesting topic, and it's something that I've worked with actually an amazing coach this year on is money mindset, actually. We have a lot of limiting beliefs around money, and a lot of them come from how we grew up or society, right? We hear more money, more problems. Money is the root of all evil.
Ugh,
Like all of these things that like subconsciously, consciously and subconsciously make us have this like resistance and almost like a disgust around money and how okay it comes in and then it's gone, money never stays, right? We have like
it's
this these
greed. It's bad. Yeah.
right, it's greedy, or rich people are wealthy are greedy and awful and mean and gosh, no, no, no. So yeah, this year I've faced a lot of those beliefs around what it means to be an empowered, resilient woman who owns a six-figure business and uses her money for good in the world, right? Um, I that's something that I've learned from my coaches that money in the hands of good people does good things.
Yep.
And that's a message to latch onto, right? That's and really thinking, and I think a lot of people, no matter what profession they're in, may have some limiting beliefs around what type of income they're able to generate based
Mhm.
on their educational background or based on their experience or the industry that they're in.
Mhm.
Yeah, those can be really powerful. Those can be powerful in holding you back, and they can also be really powerful in propelling you forward.
Big. Huge stuff. That is definitely a breakthrough area for many, and I would say particularly for women, because
Yes.
there's still a lot wrapped up in views on women and success and a glass ceiling and all this kind of stuff. So um I hope that many others can relate to what you just said there.
Yeah.
Okay, what would you say is one of your superpowers that you're proud of?
Superpowers. I am a badass baker.
Oh my God. That is the key.
I can kill it in the kitchen, girl. I really can. And baking is something I think a lot of people don't like because it's very precise, whereas cooking, you can be very much like emotional about like a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
Right.
Whereas like with baking, it's pure chemistry and science. So, things need to be a little bit more precise. But I
Yeah. If
actually
you miss an
find,
ingredient, it
yeah,
could kind of fizzle.
could be detrimental. So
Yeah.
that's a superpower. I love to bake and give my creations away. And people are always pretty happy with them.
I'm
So,
saying if there was a
yeah.
superpower to be proud of, it would be that. I'm telling you, that is the way to someone's heart right there.
Who doesn't like treats? I'm right. I mean, who doesn't like treats? My
They're
daughter
just
says, "Mommy, you are the best baker. You are the best cook and baker." I'm like, "Well, keep them coming, sister. I'm so glad."
right. Now that talk about being uplifted every day and staying, positive and in the present is just have those compliments. And
Yeah, she's my life coach.
yeah, and the thing about it too, going back to sometimes us looking to our youth in our life for advice and direction is their candor. Because I'm pretty sure if she didn't think you were good at baking, you would probably know that too. Because that kids are not shy about being honest. Like, this
Oh yeah.
isn't very good.
Yeah. Oh, she would say that. Her little saying when she doesn't like something, not for me.
Oh my gosh. That's so funny.
Pretty hilarious.
Right, like if you go somewhere to eat at a restaurant or someplace, and if she didn't like it, she would probably say that.
Not for me. Yeah. It's funny.
Wow. It sounds so mature too.
It
Like,
really does, right? I mean, there are these little adults hidden in there, which is hysterical, but yeah, she enjoys the treats, now that the holidays are over, we're reeling things back in. But yeah, that's definitely one of my superpowers, which I learned from my mom. I always like it was quality time in the kitchen with my mom. She was a single mom, 3 kids. She worked a lot. She was always stressed, but she loved to bake. I liked to bake more than my siblings. And so it was time where I really, really got to be with her. So it's
yeah,
precious.
to get to share in that. Oh man, that is amazing. Okay, so if there's a last piece of advice that you would give to anyone listening right now, what would that be?
Yeah. You don't have to have it all figured out right now. You never have to have it all figured out. Give yourself the space and the time to think about just dream, right? Let yourself dream. I think a lot of people get caught up in the how. Like, I don't want to think about that because I don't know how it would possibly happen for me, right? There you go, limiting belief right there. But we don't have to worry about the how. The how figures itself out. It's really knowing ourselves and honoring our desires and just giving ourselves that love, time, and attention that can make all the other pieces come together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So clarity really comes from having the courage to ask ourselves the big questions, the hard questions,
Mhm.
really hear and listen to what those answers are from ourselves and from our heart. And you may surprise yourself, right? And in what you really want. So you don't
Yeah.
have to have it all figured out, but definitely give yourself some time and some love and attention because you deserve it.
Oh my gosh. The mic has been dropped on that. That's so true. So true. Like that, I mean, right there. Somehow we do feel like we have to have things
Mhm.
figured out. And you're right. There's too much, that is just too much undue pressure.
Yeah, take the
Because
pressure off. Let it be fun.
pressure.
You can't mess it up. You can't.
Yeah.
Let it be
Well,
fun.
and it's the journey. It's enjoying the journey because, when we think back on the things that we might call imperfect or didn't go as planned, you laugh at it. It's hilarious. There's things that you're like, "Oh my gosh, I thought that was the way to do it." But it was so much fun trying to figure it out and just, look at how much you've grown since, you did something in some sort of archaic way or, whatever it was. And then you look and say, "Oh my gosh, I overcomplicated that way too much." But you
Oh,
learn
for
that in the
sure.
process, right?
Yeah, we are the biggest barriers. We get in our own way. We gotta get out of our own way. We gotta
Mhm.
learn to relax a little bit more so that we can see and think clearly and learn to have fun, right? I mean, we're attached to this super stress lifestyle and nobody wants to live like that anymore.
Mm-mm.
And when we become too attached to the how, then I think we can set ourselves up for disappointment, which that's a good emotion to learn how to deal with as well because it's a part of life. But things in my experience, things rarely happen the way that you thought they would.
The universe or whatever it is that you believe in, laugh at your plans. I mean, they
Oh,
just
for sure.
do. I mean, and that's why I love what you said earlier about, setting goals, but it's okay that, it's imperfect. It's not like you're going to achieve everything to the T. It's an intention that you're putting out there, but nearly nothing goes as planned because life isn't that way.
Yeah, it's up to you to put the energy out there and it will come back to you in ways you never imagined. And maybe some of the ways that you imagined, but you will be surprised pleasantly for sure.
Mhm.
But yeah, you got to put it out there. You've got to be willing to do your part. You have to be willing to see things differently
Mhm.
and be guided a bit, right? I mean, I think that there's a faith element that I would be remiss for not mentioning in that, we have to put our belief in some.
Mhm. Technical difficulties. It wouldn't be current day, present day, talking about being present if we didn't have those things, right? Technical difficulties. But before we got cut off, I wanted to just take this last, moment or two for you to reiterate how people can connect with you, just to make sure that we have that. And of course, I'll make sure to put that in the show notes.
Yeah, absolutely. My website is encompasscoachingservices.com. So ENCOMPASS coachingservices.com. And then I'm on Instagram, probably way too much, and do a lot of great stuff on there, free content and, trainings and all the goods. And my handle is at Kimberly, KIMBERLY Brooke, Brooke Smith. So hit me up. I would love to chat with y'all. And if you have questions or anything, I mean, head on over to my website. There's a million ways to get in touch.
Awesome. Oh, well, this has been an amazing hour of connecting and just really getting refocused on the things that are going to propel us forward. And really that is our mindset and our energy and daily strategy like you talked about. It's such a great reminder and I'm so incredibly grateful for the work that you do every day, Kimberly. It's
Yes.
amazing.
Thank you, Coach Des. Thank you for having me. It's been awesome to connect with you. I feel like we could have just gone on and on and on, but yes, thank you. It's great to be here.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Magnetic. I love Kimberly's word for the year. There is so much power in the word magnetic. I want to leave you in this episode with questions related to Kimberly's approach to getting in the zone that allows you to prosper and flourish in the name of achieving your dreams. She mentioned three things. mindset. And then second to that, she mentioned energy. And then it is daily strategy. Mindset, energy, and daily strategy. What are you doing to achieve a mindset that allows you to persevere and stay positive and to be innovative, like she talked about? That would be a great question for you to reflect on and do some writing about. Energy. What are you doing to manage your energy for good? Are you feeling fueled? Are you feeling depleted by the things that you are choosing each day? The information that you consume, the sources you consume it from, the communities that you choose to engage in, the circle that you're in, the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Those are all sources of what can take away or give you the energy that you need to succeed. And then finally, what is your daily strategy? So that brings all of it together in terms of the balance that we're all striving for. Do you have the right routine in place to help you be successful and execute? Are you prioritizing the things that you need to do to fill your cup up, whether that is exercise, meditation, journaling, calendaring, scheduling, any of those things, in order for you to then give the best version of yourself to the world and fulfill the tasks and wear all the hats that you wear? What is your daily strategy? I love that. Couple of simple reflection questions for you. Write them down. I think when we write things down, it makes it real and it gives us a sense of commitment to where we are in the world. It brings us to the present and it helps us to have clarity about how we're moving forward. I hope that you got a lot out of this episode as we are closing the month of January. Can you believe it? We are already going to be heading into the second month of 2022. I hope you are all doing well and already prospering. Just remember that you are your only limit. So take action today. Make sure you are subscribed to the podcast. Be sure to continue sharing. The only way that we are going to gain momentum, which is my word for 2022, is by sharing this podcast, this platform with other people who need inspiration, who need to be reminded that they have a unbreakable spirit. Let them know about your favorite episode. Let them know about the platform. I encourage you to rate and review. That helps to get more publicity out there about the show. I appreciate you. Feel free to reach out anytime. Des@bornunbreakable.com, or you can send a DM to Born Unbreakable on Instagram. Thank you so much, and I can't wait for you to tune in to the next episode.